right here. Now, I'm gonna turn it over.
Thank you. Thank you. And I know there's nothing, I'm between you and the rifles and dinner. So I've learned a lot, but I will one up you. 1959, when John Duncan first ran for mayor. And, you know, every good politician needs a really cute kid as a prop. And that was my first job, and I did it well. You know, I would go drag people to my daddy, say, go to my daddy, but never dreaming that God would have put me in this position. I was the helper bee, and working for Daddy and then Jimmy. You know, and two amazing people that gave their life of service to our community and to the Republican Party. I mean, back in '64, you know, you had to beg Democrats to vote for it because there weren't enough Republicans in the state to elect Republicans statewide. I mean, Howard Baker Jr. lost his first race for the U.S. Senate. And if we didn't go out and recruit Democrats to vote as Republicans for our Republican candidates, we would have never taken over the state. And watching that transition, I always used to say, we were Republicans in East Tennessee from the plateau over. But once you crossed over the plateau, I think there were some Republicans over there, but they were closet Republicans. They just wouldn't admit it because they weren't the Democrats of today, though. They were more the conservative, Jacksonian type, moderate and conservative Democrats. So, and you know, people agreed a lot, but it was a slow process getting to where we are today, to being in power and to being able to make our state great. We don't all agree on everything, and that's okay. I tell people, sometimes people tell me, they say, Becky, you're doing a good job, and I go, thanks, but I said, I promise you I'll do something you don't like. And that's okay. I think we've got to get away from this having to agree 100% of the time, but Tennessee is moving in the right direction. Unfortunately, everybody else knows we're moving in the right direction, and they're moving here. But hopefully more of them will be moving to Middle Tennessee because that helps keep our tax base low. We can continue to reduce taxes and continue to improve, you know, the things that we need to improve in the state. In the legislature, I serve on the Health Committee and I chair the Transportation and Safety Committee. And I'll talk more at the end about transportation because I know that's an interesting topic. But the biggest thing, my biggest role is serving as mom of the Knox County delegation. I try to keep them going to the places they need to go and making sure they're showing up. And I can't make them behave, but I can be their conscience when they misbehave. At least the 8 of us that are of the right party. So, but it really is that, you know, the House has 99 members, the Senate has 33. You know, the nice thing about being in the Senate is that, you know, there's 27 Republicans, 6 Democrats, and other than in special session, for the most part, those 6 behave themselves. And we work together well because when you get to know each other one-on-one, even if you disagree on some policy issues, you actually are able to be respectful to each other even when you disagree. And that's all I care about is making sure I treat people respectfully, but that they treat me respectfully too. You know, because we all have different opinions and different passions. Because of that, I'm actually usually pretty effective in a couple of years. You know, a couple of years I've passed almost every single one of my bills that I pass unanimously. And you don't do that if you don't treat people right. And so I think that's important. Just a couple of things. I mean, I know that Dave and Richard Briggs spoke, I guess, last month. Was that right? I think. So y'all got basically some overviews. Just a few of the things that I worked on this year. There was one. We've done a whole lot for our military families that are moving into our state, you know, on military compacts. And what that is like, say you're a teacher and your spouse is a teacher and they live in Virginia and they're moving to Tennessee, we have a compact so that there's reciprocal agreements so they can go ahead and start teaching. So we've done lots of compacts, a lot in the medical field and stuff. Well, we had a group that came to us, and I sponsored the bill, that basically said, if there's not another quicker path, if there's not a compact, that this will be the quickest path, and we want to be able to get the families, the spouses working as quickly as they want to. And so at one point, the administration said, well, they didn't like it because they already had all that other. And I said, oh no, we're just going to do this. And we'll just say, whichever one's the quickest way, we want to help our military families out. And so we were able to pass that. So occasionally when the governor's office doesn't like something, they will do what's called flagging the bill. And I had another bill that they were flagging on mine, and they came to my office and they said, yeah, the governor's flagged. And I said, so? That means they don't like it, so that's okay. If it's a good bill, it's a good bill, and we'll work on it. One of the ones that I've kind of worked on a lot in the last few years is childcare. It's we got a lot of people that are having to choose between working or staying home because childcare is so expensive and it's hard to find it. And if you can find it, it's still almost prohibitively expensive. So I had tried a couple of times to pass what was called a Promise and Futures bill, where it would be kind of like the Tennessee Promise, the last dollar scholarships. We weren't ever able to get that funded, but we came up with a version this year and we still call it Promise and Futures. And it's three parts, but it's putting a pot of money, about $10 million in a year, that can be used for scholarships, basically. So there's the TriStar program where basically a business will put in a third, the family will put in a third, or a version of that third, and the state will put in a third to help make childcare more reasonable. There's also some money in there for scholarships, so basically child care for the child care workers, because a lot of these companies have trouble finding enough people to help work it. Another thing we did, we had passed before the kind of the 1-800 number with TBI for the financial institutes when they suspect elder financial abuse, somebody trying to take all a senior's money. And so we ended up expanding that this year to give the TBI some more investigators to investigate those cases. There's like $500 million a year identified that's stolen from our seniors in Tennessee. And so we're not talking about the scam that you get the email and say, okay, it's my niece's birthday and I'm out of town and can you buy five Amazon gift cards or something? And that actually happened to me. And all of a sudden I'm getting hundreds of emails and phone calls and everything, but that's peanuts compared to what we're talking about. They're taking $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $100,000, people's life savings. And a lot of them don't report it because it's usually, half of them are family members. And about 70% of it's substance-related abuse. So we've added more investigators to that. We've done a lot with child safety, in the courts and child custody areas where, one of the parents really has been abusive to either the kids or to the spouse, and they've been being forced to spend time with that abusive parent. And so one of the things, the step we took that further is to do some required training for the guardian ad litem so they can make sure those kids are protected. We strengthened our domestic violence registry. The other thing that we did, we didn't quite get everything done on it, but we had a lot of talk about artificial intelligence and AI, but where AI has been helping and telling people how to commit suicide. And I said, we don't want to stifle the creativity and the advancements there, because AI is a great tool to be able to use. but we also have the line of protecting our citizens. And so basically, we kind of didn't quite come to an agreement between the House and the Senate on our version, so we got, this state agency is doing a study on it. They'll get it back. We're gonna pass something on it next year because, you know, if AI is telling somebody how to commit suicide or how to kill somebody, I mean, it's just scary. And so basically we're gonna continue to work on that. Sometimes bills some things like that take a while and you gotta work your way through it. So we'll continue to work on that. You know, next year's gonna be a pivotal year in the state. I mean, we're gonna have a new governor, we're gonna have a new Speaker of the Senate, and we'll likely have, you know, we're gonna have a new majority leader, and hopefully we'll have a new caucus leader, because I'm running for caucus leader. So, but we'll see. You know, if you don't run, you don't win. So it's like on fundraising. I said, if you don't ask, you don't get. But it'll be interesting times with new, you know, to see where the new administration will take us and how we'll work together to continue making Tennessee a better and better state. One of my, how many like our roads right now? Yeah, okay. We're unanimous. So it's a pretty simple thing. Our road funding is an unsustainable resource. Basically, for years, the gas tax has been able to take care of everything. We're still one of the top best roads in the country, but we've gone down some spots. So what you've got is the newer cars are getting more miles per gallon. So that means you're paying less to drive on each mile of road, technically. So, because the miles, that's gonna keep improving. Forget electric vehicles, that's negligible, okay? Then you take the cost of building roads, repairing roads, building new roads and everything is doubling. So that's going up. Then you've got the number of people driving on roads is going up and putting more wear and tear on the roads. So that's a formula that doesn't work. It's unsustainable. And our roads is something that we as a state have got to do. That's our responsibility. I've been on a national work group on alternative transportation funding. We've had a couple of one-day meetings. Dave Wright went with me to one last winter. We've got another one coming up, but looking at what other states have done, I've talked to the folks, Dr. Fox over at UT, we've got to have an appreciating revenue source, not a depreciating one, and the gas tax is not the way to, I mean, it's not the solution. It may be part of it, but it's not the solution. And so I passed a bill last year to ask this, it's called TASR, but they do very in-depth studies. And they have just come out with their preliminary report, but to look at what are some resources where there's people that are using the roads right now that aren't paying anything to use it. You know, like, you know, Uber fees or rental car fees. They're on our roads, but they're not paying a bit to use the roads. And we don't bond on the roads. We bond for higher education, but we don't bond for roads. That's not the only solution, but it's part of it. So at this point, I feel like that personally, that we need to look at all of it and see what do we need to do to put together the package so it's not cumbersome anywhere, but to have an appreciating revenue source. We've got about $60 billion of identified needs that we don't have the money for. We've got, they are estimating just in road repair alone, it would take about $1.5 billion in the next couple of years. And there's not money to do that, plus new road projects. We know we need to do something with 4075. I mean, that is just cumbersome totally. And so they have, as part of doing anything to interstate, you have to do, the federal government requires you to do these studies and public meetings. There's the second round of public meetings next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday here, 5 to 7. One's at Pellissippi, one's at the Knoxville City Works building, and one's at Farragut Town.
Community Center.
Farragut Community Center, thank you. And so basically, at one point, they had looked at a lot of different possibilities. I think there were 7 originally. We met with TDOT yesterday. At this point, they've kind of narrowed down to 2 of them. And one of them would be adding 1 lane each way, but right now we don't have the funding for it. And one of them would be doing a choice lane, the 2 choice lanes in each direction, like we're doing on 24 in Nashville. And what that does, just to briefly explain a choice lane, is that you can decide if you want to stay in the free lanes, and if right now if there's 4 free lanes, there'll still be 4 free lanes. But some of the people that want to be in the choice lane have to be somewhere quicker. They're coming to your house to do a HVAC repair. They're an hourly employee. They can't miss an hour of work or whatever. They will choose, or they're driving through, like, if I'm driving through Atlanta, I go in their choice lanes. But you've got to get somewhere. You can choose to go in that choice lane, but it takes, the people in the free lane go about 30% faster. So everybody benefits from it, but the typical choice lane is paid for by investors from around the country. But the first time they did the market study on ours, it didn't pay out for the out-of-state investors. But the other potential would be it could be a state-run choice lane, so that we get the funding, so we could get to it quicker. Because we can't wait 20 years to start something in Knoxville, and we've got to do something to figure it out. And so that's kind of the direction we're looking at. I'm going to continue to advocate. But I think we've got to change our funding formula because we just can't meet the needs, period. And it's complicated, unfortunately. I never, being a social service provider, I never thought I'd become an expert in road funding. But I've learned more than I need to know. But don't ask me how you build a road, because that's real technical. But anyway, it is an honor to serve. I can answer questions of what you want, and then I'll be around. I've got to be on a phone call for students with disabilities at 7:30 to talk to them about voting. So anyway, any questions? Yes.
What part of the state is the greatest need for road funding?
What part of the state? Well, in my estimation, east, but no, there's needs all over, and it's the roads that you drive on that people think are the biggest needs. The Nashville area, Middle Tennessee, by the time you add all those counties together, is growing a whole lot more in population. We're growing more than we like in our little pocket of East Tennessee. But probably because of more cars on the roads, collectively, it's middle. We've got more cars on the road in just our one spot because we only have one spot. They looked at, obviously they did not look at the orange and the blue route because they're obsolete, but they did, as part of the study, looked at a bypass. The only problem with a bypass, it would take 2 or 3 times longer than it'll take us to get something done to 4075. We got to do that first, and I'm going to keep advocating for that. But yeah, there's needs all over the state. They'll likely get a second choice lane in Nashville because they're really interested. And the neat thing about choice lanes is when they first started, and they're doing them all over the country. They actually tend to help move traffic better than just a simple expansion, the dynamics of it, and they help with road safety because you can keep your cars moving. But when they first started this, the company would put up 70%, and they would fund, plan, build, maintain, and operate it. So they do it all. And and then if they don't live up to it, you get your road and you get it back. And at certain points, you'll do some revenue sharing. But, so it was about a 70-30 split, then it went to about an 80-20 split, then it went to 100% that they pay for, and then it went to 100 plus some public benefit money. And a road down in Atlanta, now obviously Atlanta's got a huge amount of traffic, but they got 100% of the road built plus $4 billion on top of it. So it's kind of like the coaches' salaries, they just keep going up when these bidding wars. So we're hoping, we won't get $4 billion on the road in Nashville, but we're hoping for some. So we'll find out this fall what we get on that. So anyway, Joe.
Maybe I missed it, but with all these apartments going up, with more toll on the roads, is there some way to tax those guys? Or is that the county? Let's see.
To tax them for the roads?
Yeah, lights.
I don't think you can, I mean, the locals can do, you know, they can, as in their planning, you know, have some infrastructure for those communities, but I don't think we can get it for our interstate money.
Does the state have master plans for development in areas?
That's local control. Yeah, yeah. We try to stay in our own lanes. Now, often we veer out of them, but we do try to stay in our lanes. Yes, sir.
Not to change the subject.
No, that's good.
And I know you've been working on it, and that's very much appreciated. Where do we stand on the mental health hospital?
Okay.
You've been looking at.
Well, we've had a study done that we're short about 80 beds now. We'll be short about 150 beds by 2050 for mental health beds. And some people go, well, you know, the state didn't live up to its promises since when they closed Lakeshore. Well, they did. You know, they promised that the money that was used at Lakeshore was going to be used for mental health treatment in the region. It's a 27-county region. Well, the problem was, and we've been getting that money plus more, and multiple more people have been served with that money than would have been served at Lakeshore. There were about a census of 90 people that were living, half of them full-time, half of them were revolving door at Lakeshore. And I mean, I was first elected in November of 11. 3 days later, they called me up and told me Lakeshore was closing. So I've walked this path with them since then, but I've also kept the state accountable for their promises. So, but the problem is mental health needs is growing. We've all seen it, whether it's, I think a lot of it has to do with social media and the 24-hour news cycle, in my opinion, and the smartphones. You know, the phones, the tech that people have got their noses in it all the time. But, so we got the study, and that was the first step. We knew that doing a new hospital was gonna take a lot longer and was gonna cost a lot more money, and that was likely something that would have to go on with the new governor's administration. So, in working real closely with the Commissioner of Mental Health, they came up with the idea to take where we put the Impasse Center over at the old St. Mary's site, which is basically a 24-hour type assessment type center. But to take the second floor was not finished out, so that we could take the money. Helen Ross McNabb had won the bid to operate it though. So to finish it out, to do the renovation, it was going to be about $12 million, and it would be $8 million to provide the services there. And we're looking at, it's about 30 beds, 25, 30 beds type thing. Well, we didn't get it in the governor's first budget. Thought we had a really good chance of getting it in the governor's second budget. We had a letter to the governor signed by every single legislator in that 24 county region. Every legislator, you don't see that. And asking for his support. We did not get it in the second budget. Then the last shot bite at the apple is usually the legislative budget request. That's the hardest one to get because there's limited money there and to get some of that money. So we didn't get it. They did tell me it was the last thing they didn't fund. You know, I mean, I go, oh, that's supposed to make me feel better? I was not happy with them. Everybody knows it, but there's still some potentials of some possibilities, but they've also, all the folks knew how invested I was in this, have told me they're gonna work with the incoming administration to help make this happen. So it's not, I'm not giving up on that. So really, at the end of the day, you know, while I said my passion's vulnerable people just from working in the disability field for 25 years, and whether it's people with disabilities or people with mental health issues or kids that are being abused or elderly that's being abused, the roads have been my assigned passion. And really my two main things are somehow figuring out a way to fix the road funding so we can somewhat meet the needs of our citizens of our state, and working on getting our mental health hospital situation figured out here. Those really are my two things. So, yes.
Senator, one of the things that you and I will be talking about next Monday with the TDOT regional director, Amanda Snowden, is I've got an idea based on my 40 years experience in acquisitions, is if we take coordinated procurement and have Knoxville as the center and coordinate procurement with the other 9 counties, make it a multi-year procurement, really tight terms and conditions, I think we can have national interest, have pre-positioned road equipment in the area, and I think we can improve mobilization, and I think we can do better with roads with a better contract without a tax increase.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking at.
Very good. Well, I'm looking forward to our meeting too. So, any other questions? Well, I'll be around, y'all. Yes, sir.
How are you standing on the data centers?
The data centers? Well, a lot of that is being done locally.
Yeah, I know.
And that's not part of my wheelhouse, really. I mean, as far as, that doesn't go through any of my committees, but
The state is not doing anything to try to control these or make specific,
Moratorium was passed last night.
pardon?
Moratorium was passed last night
The state?
for Knox County.
Well, I know that, I'm talking about the state.
well, I think, you know, I mean, like I say, I'm not as educated on that, so I really can't answer. I talk about the things I know about. I know one of the things that's really, and I imagine Senator Briggs talked about it last time, but the interest in, the only reason I'm thinking about this is the growth of the new nuclear energy growth in the Anderson and Roane County and surrounding areas. One thing that they said, there's one business going into Roane County that the value of that business is more than all the property value of all the commercial and personal homes and values in Roane County. I was with Jim Henry today, and he said they're hoping they're going to do away with their property tax there because of the economic growth. We've been listed as the #1 growth state in nuclear energy, and this is new stuff. These are the small nuclear reactors. These are the things that they will deploy this thing to, you know, form a place that has no electricity, no thing, and you know, it's not even probably goes down to that door. I don't know. It's not big. They'll use it 5 years, bring it back and repurpose it and send it back out again. They're recycling it. It's not the nuclear waste that some of us, you know, Chernobyl and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's really exciting what's going on over there. But there is one, I know there's one, just one small nuclear reactor that is there's a Google data thing in Middle Tennessee that one nuclear reactor is gonna basically take care of their whole needs. So I mean, I'm usually not an all or nothing type person. I think you gotta look at it, but that is something that I don't know enough about to give you an educated answer. So I always try to I tell people, I answer almost anything you ask me. I said, the only thing I don't tell you is my weight. That's a state secret. Other than that, we're all good. So, but if anybody needs anything, it really is just an honor to serve. We've got a great Knox County delegation that works hard, that represents well, and we play off each other's strengths, because we're not all, I tell Senator Briggs, he has all the brains, I have all the common sense, so, we make a good team together. So, anyway, but we're fortunate, I'm fortunate to serve with the people I serve with, but to serve you all, and this is this club, so.